You are listening to the Spent the Rent podcast. And now, here's your host, Patty Rose.
Hello, I am Patty Rose. Welcome to the Spent the Rent podcast. My guest today is Thomas Huira, president-elect of the Eugene City Club. Also, hip-hop artist, good friend, strong support system, and an ally. I just want to say I love you, brother. Welcome.
Thank you. I love you, too. It's always a fun time, and I don't always know why you bring me on, but I definitely appreciate that you do.
I don't know. I think that it's good to just have a friend on that we can kind of shoot the shit. I think that we could cover some ground. We're going to do that today. We've got a lot of different topics. I'm doing this kind of less often because it's the holidays and I've got a lot of stuff going on with family, but I knew that we could conquer it. I tried to do an episode about immigration right after the election, and I realized that I was a little bit too fired up. And so I don't know. We're going to cover a lot of stuff today, but anyway, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So this episode is being recorded on Saturday, December 7th, 2024. 83 years today to the day was the attack on Pearl Harbor. You and I both celebrate what we see as a multicultural America. And so I wanted to talk to you just briefly about how maybe someone, with your family history being represented on one side with Japanese roots, you may have a different take on this day. What do you think of when you think of this day? And I want to mention what followed Pearl Harbor was internment camps and hysteria about Americans with Asian roots who were just being accused of being spies and all kinds of crazy stuff. People read your history. America then dropped nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But I want to talk about how it was incredible how all of that stuff went down between America and Japan. And then yet 20 years later, the two nations were allies. And so this is a long-winded question, but for you as a Japanese American, I would just like to hear what you kind of think about when you think about that kind of history.
Sure, dude. Well, certainly my perspective is informed by my heritage and my background on some level. But I think kind of at a universal level, and because I grew up in Eugene, I just kind of detest war. Yeah. I really have always found a huge aversion to it. There have been times when I've considered, would I be an asset to the Oregon National Guard or the military, because, having a robust defense, there's something to be said about it. And, certainly when I see people who have participated in the military, I frequently thank them because of the strong intentions and the, warrior mentality. But
I think as bad as things are today, and there's a lot of conflict going on, I think that at least right now, we're not in a World War situation. And so the days back then, it was very volatile, and so I think it was just different. I'm with you. I'm with you that I don't support war. I don't think that the outcomes of what happened were, the reason I wanted to ask about it is because I worry about these kind of things that create hysteria for different groups of people in our country. And it happens at different times for different groups. In that time, it was to Japanese Americans. And right now, we're going to see a hysteria towards mostly people from South America and Central America.
Much of our upbringing, and maybe more so me, because I was born in '93. You were born in the late '80s,
'82, yeah,
early '80s. And so, for me, it was just after 9/11, an incredible amount of demonization of anybody wearing a turban.
Exactly, exactly.
And I remember going into 7-Eleven with somebody that I was in middle school with. And there was an Arab gentleman who was the clerk. And as we're walking out, my friend said, I don't know how anybody could, I'm sorry, but I don't know how anybody could look at that guy and not think he's a terrorist. That's kind of the level that we were at.
Yeah.
And, that still permeates on some level today, of course. And just really with my general opposition to war, I think, we have this amazing technology. You're doing this podcast. We have an information society that's global and interlinked. Obviously, I sound like a hippie, but I just think we can get a little more diplomacy going.
Yeah.
But, and that's the thing is when we find a dissonance between what our government wants to do and what the people actually want to support with their tax dollars and want to authorize, the military state is perverting our ambitions as an actual people. They're basically putting us in these endless wars, ensuring that they can continue to reap profits off of weapons manufacturing. And I find it detestable much of the time. Is there no, I'm not saying there's never a legitimate reason to intervene in a situation.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That was one of the most volatile exchanges in between any nation and America in the short history, you know. And so it's just interesting. When these days come, I do think I reflect on, like I said, the multiculturalism of America and the celebration that we can get through bigotry and biases to make sure that we're trying to fight for the rights of people that may look different than other people. That's the whole point, you know. And so that's why I do what I do. And I know it's sometimes seen as a microaggression to bring up, but I don't care because I like having the conversations. I choose to push the limit a little bit on that.
I was just talking to my coworker last night. I work at Toshi's Ramen now.
Yeah.
And I really like it. And I think that's okay for me to say it.
Probably not.
No one's going to get mad at me.
I'll get sued.
Well, I'm here as a private, individual, personal person in my own capacity. I'm not representing
Our views
the
do
City
not
Club.
reflect the views of the
I'm not
Toshi's
representing
Ramen.
the
Yeah.
Wow Hall Board. I'm not representing the Eugene Human Rights Commission. I'm just here chilling. I'm your buddy.
Yeah, good.
And I was
Good.
given.
That was awkward.
I was just saying. Yeah, we're always awkward. I'm awkward. George H.W. Bush, the father of W.
Yeah.
He's the president who allocated reparations and formally apologized, you know, to the Japanese Americans, at least. I don't think it was to the Japanese community at large, but maybe it was.
Yeah.
And, you know.
And he cured AIDS, sort of. I don't know. Pay attention in school. But we have a lot to talk about. I just wanted to mention that today was the 83 years since Pearl Harbor. Thanks for what you added to that. Okay, so Eugene and Springfield are both dealing with frustratingly long lines for food. In Eugene, it's the organization Neighbors Feeding Neighbors giving free food to the community who are facing citation and or arrest if it continues because they have been denied their permit to use the Washington Jefferson Park. Is that correct? Is all that correct? Is it at Jefferson? It's a big story. You can look into it. I've mentioned it. I talked to Karen briefly. I didn't really push on her about it too much, but the question was for her was how you maintain trying to appease the interests of all the different parties in a situation. So it was just kind of I'm beginning the job as a mayor situation. But hey, now that you're in a position of leadership coming at the Eugene City Club, even though it's like a light situation, it's mostly just discussion group.
Right.
But there is going to be times of conflict. It just happens. How do you handle these kind of situations? What do you think? The situation, again, is that people are serving food at the park and have been doing it for a long time. And it's grown. And because the demand is so high for people that need food, there's now an issue because the neighbors are saying that the overlay or the overflow of the people coming to that area is causing problems. So the city has denied their permit. And it's tough because obviously if the people need the food and there's an organization trying to do it, I don't see how you can deny people giving food. But what do you think about all that?
Yeah, at the City Club, we had a pretty good forum a couple weeks ago where we talked about food insecurity. We had a really great panel, folks from Food for Lane County and Springfield High School and Interfaith. I can't remember the name exactly, but an interfaith group that was helping to make sure that people are fed. And we had somebody, you can come to the City Club meetings. They're at the Wow Hall on Fridays at noon. And you can ask questions of these panelists, of local elected officials. Yesterday we had an exit interview with Mayor Lucy Vinnis. We had people from Breakfast Brigade and Burrito Brigade. Breakfast Brigade is now called Neighbors Feeding Neighbors. And they just care so deeply about the individuals that are experiencing
100%.
what they're experiencing on the street. And, we are also, you and I would probably consider ourselves friends with like a counselor like Randy Groves.
Sure.
Who's probably somebody who is more, his radar is more sensitive to, hey, what are the neighborhood issues that arise with people convening on the street and living on the street, and what are some of the negative repercussions that can come with that? And so, I think you and I have a window into that.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've talked on this podcast ad nauseum with many people on all sides of the, homelessness conversation and transient conversation, in the way that there's a lot of people that. Some people, we talk about YIMBYism and NIMBYism.
Yeah.
The yes in my backyard or no in my backyard, meaning like that people don't want to help a lot of these different services because they just see the trash that gets left and all that stuff. And so it's a lot of stuff is tasked on the city, and then people don't want to pay for anything. So it's this vicious circle.
I haven't been present at a feeding.
I have not either.
That's taken place, so I don't know what the dynamics of it are. I've gone by it. A few times.
Ironically,
so
my thought on
I think
that
that it's a relatively well organized,
Oh, of course.
robust organization. They provide good food. I'm sure they make every effort to clean up if they create a mess.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's just, I don't know the story. There's
really,
a lot of
really excellent, empathetic, big-hearted people that
are
literally don't like seeing their fellow humanity out on the streets starving while they're also cold and they're also unsheltered.
Yeah. And it goes on year round. There's a lot of news coverage about it that could do a better job than us right now. But definitely look into that. It's a good story to kind of break down and see how difficult it is to manage civics in a city, and then. So that's what Eugene's dealing with lines for food. In Springfield, the lines take a much different tenor. Did you wait in line Thursday morning at 4 a.m. for the opening of the new Chick-fil-A? Because why the hell would anyone do this?
I remember when the Nintendo Wii came out at Best Buy, I waited in line from 4
I waited in line for a college football video game.
Yeah. That's really close to the Best Buy. I think, it's interesting location. People have definitely sounded off on social media about, for well over a year, they've been saying, like, what are you doing putting a Chick-fil-A here? It's just going to mess up traffic, and it's going to, like, on the path towards Riverbend Hospital, which is the only hospital that's in the Eugene-ish area, I would say. It's one of 2 hospitals in Springfield.
I haven't been there yet to see how much of a back,
Nor have I.
How much it pushes back. I will say that
there's a lot of great places to get chicken.
Oh yeah, I will say that Springfield loves big trucks and hates buses, roundabouts, and anything that actually helps with traffic. So it's ironic to me. Also, folks don't know how this actually works. I know that the mayor did not vote in Chick-fil-A. I don't know if that should have had to be said. But if you go on Facebook and you read the comment section, people are definitely like, the mayor should actually have to pay for this. Well, that's not how business works. The city is not in a position where they can deny us a business. Now, my concern are tax dollars being spent on the traffic accommodations of a company that is outwardly anti-LGBT. And they've spent, it's been very, very much documented that they've spent millions of dollars funding organizations who are trying to reverse any marriage equality legislation. And because they are a religious institution, they are closed on Sunday. They're not a religious institution, so they do pay taxes, probably not much. But you can still eat. I don't have much more to add about the Chick-fil-A stuff. I think it's silly.
There's an extent to which the city of Springfield is using resources to inform the public about how traffic is going to be different. I think that's
actually a good way to spin it. That's a good way to put it.
Informing the public, but
I think that
I don't know what they're investing into making that business have more potential to be successful than any other businesses. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. It is just ironic.
There. I'm not somebody who says that the food is disgusting compared to any other fast food. I think fast food comes with a layer of disgusting that you have to kind of get through. I'm not trying to diss, especially not the workers. But you know what? We all know what I'm talking about. And I'll make a little room to say that sometimes I'm sympathetic to people who like to participate in boycotts and have very conscientious consumerism habits, because we all should want to know where our money is going and think really strongly about that. But, maybe there's some audience out there where it's like, okay, you're going to focus all of your energy on disliking Chick-fil-A. I'm sure that a lot of other businesses that we go to are also embedded with similar values or similar the money's headed in the same direction towards some of the same few pockets.
It's a tough dilemma.
So,
it's a tough dilemma. I mean,
I would urge, we can try to avoid that by going to like genuine local businesses as well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I will say that people can do whatever the heck they want, in my opinion. As far as businesses, that's a tough dilemma about free speech. I do support free speech. So, I mean, even these organizations, they have a right to do what they want. They make money and then they can, but at that being said, I won't support it because, it's something that's near and dear to me. My mom was a lesbian and I support marriage equality steadfast, and I'm not going to support a business that's then using the money. That being said, I'm not going to judge somebody else based on what they do. And honestly, I probably will go.
Yeah, if I see someone coming out of Hobby Lobby, which is in that same area,
I just don't
I'm
care.
not going to look negatively upon them for
I don't
that
judge.
choice. Even though I've never shopped there.
Well, I call me crazy, but my view is that I believe that we are entitled to our own opinions on different things. And so as long as we're not hurting people with those opinions, then I think we can be okay. That being said, I'm not stoked that Chick-fil-A is a gateway. I don't know. It's whatever. You can't eat it on Sundays because they're closed on Sundays, but you can continue to eat it on Saturdays, which is game day for the Ducks. This Saturday, we're going to be playing in a huge one. The Oregon Ducks play tonight in the Big Ten Championship versus Penn State. To me, this is huge. The first season that I ever watched the Ducks actually happened to be 1994. I was 12 years old, and I share a birthday with Kenny Wheaton, who is famous. I actually do share a birthday, March 8th, with Kenny Wheaton, who is famous for, in 1994, against Washington, the pick. It's been 30 years since that day, and we beat Washington and went on to get annihilated by Penn State in the Rose Bowl, 38-20. The score is actually not as bad. It's an 18-point loss, but it was abysmal. They scored on like a 90-yard touchdown or something on the first play. This year's memorable Washington moment in my mind is going to be Lanning smashing a Washington helmet at halftime with a baseball bat.
Sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer? Okay.
I don't think it was just him. They took turns.
It was fun. And it was just a helmet. And
Part of me was like, oh, how did... this is a little bit hyper-focused, but it's like, where'd they get they're using money on that. But it's fine. It's fine. It's like, I get it. It's like a performance. It's rallying people up. Like, how did they get that helmet? Is it an official Washington helmet? Did they buy it?
Those things are all over. Oh, yeah, they probably had to knock a kid out. It was like never mind. Okay, let's move on.
Where'd they get it? Like,
that's a good point.
What is the back alley market? The black market to get a it looked like any other Washington helmet.
I'm sure
the
that they made that back on the social media stuff.
They have people infiltrating the other universities in the athletic departments.
I think that
siphon
Nike
off helmets.
I think Nike's giving the University of Oregon enough money that they can afford a sticker and a gold helmet.
I'm glad we did this in person because I felt like remotely it'd be hard to back and forth banter. But let me talk about the game, dude.
Yeah, so this is huge. Penn State.
The Ducks are gonna win the Big Ten. I'm saying it right now. They're gonna win the Big Ten in their first year in the conference. I genuinely believe that it's gonna be 14 or 17 points plus that the Ducks win by. And I was telling you, I've never bet on sports. My understanding now is that it's not legal to bet on college sports in Oregon unless you're at a casino. So I was like, okay, well, that's kind of good because I was thinking about putting $100 or $200 thinking I'm gonna make some free money because the spread is 3.5.
There's no
the
such
Ducks
thing
are
as
gonna
free
cover
money.
the spread.
There's no such thing as free money in gambling. I enjoy sports betting, but I keep it low. But yeah, you can't. Yeah. I'm glad you can't bet on college because there's a lot of corruption already, and it's going to be wild. It's just to see. But I mean, the NBA, who knows? But yeah,
it's not a world I ever felt like. I mean, they've done a good job of normalizing it. Like every freaking podcast that's remotely sports affiliated or even not, they're promoting the same. I don't even need to say the names of the companies because they don't need that free advertisement on this pod.
Free advertisement, all 80 people that listen.
But yeah, let's go. Let's bring it home.
Right.
We're probably not going to get the Heisman. Dylan Gabriel's probably not really a major Heisman contender anymore. But he's definitely going to be going down in history as one of the great college football careers.
Yeah. Oh no, it's been a fun season.
Tez Johnson make a big impact when he came back. I was there at the Huskies game in 2022 where it was a really brutal, devastating come from behind loss. We lost by a field goal, and then of course 2 also brutal losses by a field goal last year by Washington. 3 in a row was really sucky. Didn't like it. Then I got to go to the game this last Saturday and watch the Ducks triumphantly kick the crap out of the Huskies.
Nice.
So I was really stoked on that, and I'm very much looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. And I just don't think
Penn State can match up. That's why I'm so confident. I just think that the Ducks are just a more elite caliber team. 30
years. It's just wild. 30 years since the 95 Rose Bowl.
Turning point.
And we played Penn State, and this is just a big marker. It's going to be a fun game. So there's no way to segue into this next story from talking about something like football. So I'm going to just clear your head. And we're going to talk a little bit about the CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, that was assassinated, which is being just broadcast repeatedly on CNN, just one after another showing the same clip, which I'm like, dude,
it's crazy how they throw that clip.
I feel like they're promoting violence more by showing it. And so I just want to say, I talk a lot on this podcast about how politically I do not support any type of violence. I don't know what I would label this as, if it's political violence, whatever. We don't know the motive yet. There's all kinds of stuff that could happen. There's all kinds of rumors swirling around. My thing is that I just think it's really, really dangerous to super publicly accept promoting any type of murder or violence, because there's people that don't understand the nuance of the humor and the deadpan and the darkness. That being said, I understand all of everybody's frustrations, and it's so disgusting what we are in America deal with healthcare. And of all people, I've done how many episodes about universal healthcare and how we can make this, this whole kind of this emptiness that people feel when they're trying to just stay healthy. sometimes. So
yeah, it feels somewhat obligatory, but I do feel like up front I have to say I don't personally choose to celebrate the fact that that guy was killed.
Yeah, no.
And I don't condone that.
No.
And now I'll launch into the rest of how I feel, which is predominantly that I don't want these people to feel they can be safe and have impunity in the way that they carry out practices that are explicitly designed to extract money from between. It's like a mafia middleman between a patient and their doctor. And it's arbitrary and it's predatory, and they make every effort to extract money from that vulnerable person. And I'm not okay with that.
No.
And we shouldn't be okay with that.
No.
And we should be surprised that these things haven't happened more often.
And the people need a system that they can trust, that they can go to, that if they're being completely, we talk about government and the role of government a lot. And there is a point where you need government to make sure that there's some kind of balance and some fairness in the world. And
I would like this to be a historical moment that does lead to change. We have no choice but to live in this environment that just happened. We can't change that occurred. We can have a vigorous debate about whether that should be celebrated or condemned, or whether the obituaries should celebrate the record profits that this guy was able to achieve, the fact that they've denied far more people as a ratio of claims than any other agency. I am encouraged by the fact that, for example, Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield changed their decision. They were going to have time limits on anesthetic.
I saw that.
And they were like, okay, let's not do that. And honestly, I want to see a more humane healthcare policy. I want to see a move towards the abolition of private health insurance. That's what I personally believe.
Me too. And I've advocated.
We're all a community together. Your health affects my health.
Yeah.
And everybody should have a fair shot. And the existence of healthcare CEOs trying to get money back to their investors and shareholders, to do everything possible to make it more expensive and more difficult, and to make people have to pay more out of pocket. It's gross to me.
Yeah.
Man. It's gross. And other countries have figured that out long ago.
The one thing I'll say, and we've gotten to this point without mentioning Donald Trump, I believe. But the one thing I will say is that we have no idea what this incoming administration is going to do on healthcare. I really believe that they could do anything between eliminating all healthcare or universal healthcare. I have no idea. I know that they're not going to do universal healthcare. My point is that I just have no faith in what's going to happen. And we have no idea. They're talking about, if RFK is chosen as Health and Human Services, they're talking about getting, going after food. All of this stuff is going to be extremely disruptive to the way that things are done, which that's what the goal is. So we'll have to see how it plays out. I have no idea.
The election of that former president creates the conditions that we need to protest. There were conditions we needed to protest for every president.
Yeah.
Biden, W, certainly. Obama, certainly. And, we were talking before we started airing about how, I donated a lot to the Democratic Party's campaign against him. I went to Nevada and made an effort to try to get the vote turned out when it didn't look like it might be so good.
Yeah.
And, I made every effort to advocate for my values on that. And now the country at large went in a little bit of a different direction.
Yeah.
And just looking forward to keeping an eye on it and being a watchdog, and that's what we have to do in these environments.
I'll keep calling stuff out, but the reality is I'm not going to do the same thing I did twice of my hair being on fire. There's a lot of optimism in my heart of hearts, cautiously optimistic about things. The reason I say, of course I wanted this to go the different way, but that being said, I believe in democracy, and I believe that like you said, our country is, has gone a different direction. And I believe in our country that we'll survive regardless. And there's going to be some good things and bad things with the Trump administration. There's going to be things I'd completely disagree with just because of the way that moral values are, commercialized on both sides politically. But that being said, the corporate Democrats have screwed themselves. Finally, it's dead. In the way that, for how many election cycles did we not get to really choose the candidate that we wanted for the Democratic Party, for the people at large? And that, I mean, and these are my words. I really believe that, you know, in 2016, there was a lot of people that felt like it was like, if you don't choose Hillary, then you're going against your country, even in the primary, even though that wasn't necessarily what, you know, a lot of people wanted. This time around, though, I do believe that it showed in the aftermath that the decisions to push Biden were a disaster early on, to choose him were disastrous. And then Kamala Harris in 100 days, I think, did an incredible job at a campaign, but that was an insurmountable hill.
Yeah, 107 days is what
I think it's actually going to go in history. It'll be looked at as being, you know, a failed election, but that is not the way that I see it.
There should have been a genuine primary. I think there should always be the ability for a real primary, even if a sitting president
agree.
in either party. You know, Trump didn't have a primary when he ran for re-election in 2020. Biden didn't have one when he ran for re-election in 2020, or when he began running.
He had a small one in 2020. I mean, you know, Dean Phillips and Marianne Williamson tried to run around. I voted for Marianne Williamson in the primary because, to make a point, just for the numbers, because I knew how it was going to go. But I mean, in 2020,
Dean Phillips was raising the flag and saying, like, we have to be realistic. Yeah. We don't have a candidate that's going to be able to defeat the other side's candidate.
Which, I mean, I don't know.
And I appreciate that, and I wish that that man had listened. I wish that Joe Biden had listened. He sent me a Christmas card. He's the first person to... Did you get one too?
No, I got some of his up there. I got some of his dark Brandon sauce. He obviously didn't drink it that day. He said it's a performance enhancer.
Yeah.
It literally on the thing it says it's just water, Jack. No, but
I don't even know if he still talked to Nancy Pelosi.
I'm sure
because I heard it was very chilly after Biden, she participated.
I hate to say it, but Joe
out.
Biden's not doing much of anything right now. I don't know what's going on there, but
you know he's trying.
Yeah, I will say about Joe Biden.
You know, he went to Angola for the first time that a president
as much as I'm not a
has.
Trump fan, I
think he's tried to appoint a lot of judges, and I think he's considering doing preemptive pardons, which gets kind of squeaky for people like Adam Schiff that might get targeted, but it's weird because they want to basically say, like, here's a pardon for crimes you haven't committed, but that they will say that you have. And so it kind of is like a blank check. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
It's kind of weird. The Hunter Biden thing, I mean, I don't even care.
I think there's really good arguments on either side of that. And it's just like kind of a shit burger.
Yeah, I don't
It's
care.
a shit burger because, you know, as a father and protecting his son from what would have been probably going through the ringer, and also the fact that crime that he was prosecuted with, really the only thing that Hunter was found guilty of, is my understanding, is like lying about whether or not he'd been doing drugs when he went to get a gun.
Yeah.
That's not something that the average person would get prosecuted for.
I know.
Prosecuted for. So that's where Joseph Biden is kind of looking like, well, I did some harm by subjecting my son to this. Let me try to undo that harm.
Potentially.
It just is really like a little bit contradictory. Like Jon Stewart had a pretty good bit about this. Like, the rule of law has been the major, besides like the crumbling of democracy, like the major talking point from, I would say, kind of like the MSNBC corporate Democratic establishment. It's typically been like, no one's above the law, and we're going to prosecute Trump for his crimes. And you know, it's
well, good, because they also get pegged with being the defund the police people. So my point being that there's a balance in it all. Is that sometimes you're going to be
that wing of the party was never comfortable with any defund the police
Of
stuff.
course not. My point is the narratives is that the left and the right, sometimes you're going to be the victim, sometimes you're going to be the aggressor. That's just the way that it goes in American politics. Is sometimes you're going to be the one that's going to be accused of being unpatriotic or un-American, and sometimes you're going to be accused of being the, you know, the defender of all things free. You know, and it's just, I wish people could see it that way, that there's push and pull going on, and that there isn't really a winner in any of this. There's losers in all of it, unless we look at it like we have a right to view things differently, but we don't have a right to deny people civil rights.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple, you know. But let's talk a little bit about Trump's cabinet picks.
Do you ever feel like you wish that the reproductive rights argument had been more potent in the election, or are you surprised? Because Dobbs happened a couple of years ago, and it seemed like sort of that candle was kind of like running out of fuel, where that was a big electoral mobilizer in 2022, but it wasn't enough to run, a whole presidential campaign behind.
I don't think any of that would have mattered. What I'm upset with the election cycle, the last election cycle, what I'm upset about, and you can go back and read the receipts because I've got recordings talking about it, is that I'm disappointed that the Democratic National Party didn't look at the Biden situation like a modern presidency, the way that we're moving and the way that social media is directing things. He cannot have a presence on social media, Joe Biden, so he's automatically disqualified. It's just the way that the world is moving. And it's not about being ageist
in
or any
the
of that.
1880s, with people not seeing him every day, you're basically saying it would have been a lot more.
It's just a different time, and they didn't let themselves step back from their situation enough to see how much they were losing ground. And so they've lost trust for right now. The Democratic National Party has lost trust in a vast majority of Americans.
It doesn't feel like they really cohesively know what their values are and how they want to advocate for them in policy.
Nope. And I'm hearing
they're supposed to be the party that's better about like public health care. I do think they're certainly better on public education issues. There's a lot of issues that, again, I'm still in the party. I have actually a bit of a leadership position.
I mean, the
state
bar on
party.
public education is pretty low, considering that Linda McMahon from WWE will be running Secretary of Education, and the goal is to get rid of that program.
I have no idea if she's going to get confirmed. A lot of these,
we'll see.
I know
We're going to talk right now about the cabinet.
picks.
So let me segue in.
Sure.
So we mentioned that CEO assassination. When Trump was the attempted assassinations on Trump, I do not support political violence of any way. I will not be making jokes about that kind of stuff. It's just not good. I think that it leads to more violence, and I want people to not shoot each other. So we're going to talk cabinet picks. The big one's in the headline right now is Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense. It sounds like this isn't going to happen. He's a former Fox News he spent a lot of time in the military and different stuff, but he's had a lot of allegations about sexual harassment or assault or whatnot. And drinking on the job are what the news reports are saying. Drinking on the job at Fox and at different veterans organizations that he was asked to resign from and leave. And so, Trump it sounds like is kind of, I really do actually encourage people to listen to if they can stomach it, because I understand if you can't. But if the Joe Rogan podcast, because they talk a lot about this, about the picks and how he made a lot of mistakes the first time around. And
Do you remember which episode?
It's the one with Donald Trump, like the one that was just with Donald Trump. I had to try to stomach it.
Boring.
It was pretty boring, and there's a lot of just nonsense in it. But my point is that he mentions a little bit about the picks for the cabinet, and it doesn't give you a lot. But regardless,
well, at that time he hadn't
made them, but they were just talking
was still
about
running.
No, but they were talking about how that process looks, and I just think it was a little bit interesting. I love listening to all this stuff.
If you're going to shout out a podcast, the New York Times Daily I mentioned has a pretty good deep dive into. I think they called it the metamorphosis of Pete Hegseth.
Yeah,
and how basically in a nutshell. But I do recommend listening to it. Right, not as your only source, but as one source. That early on in his military career, he was sort of somebody who was known, first of all, for being very professional. But as there was sort of this policy in Iraq where there would be tension between like, okay, if a guy's got a rocket launcher, can you just shoot them on sight? And basically being like, Pete Hegseth was more in the realm of like, we have to be very discerning and try not to kill these civilians because it's going to undermine the work we're trying to do there and it's going to create more enemies. And then the other sort of side of the argument is like, no, you can shoot on sight, kill a civilian, like, do what you got to do. Don't let your troops be in harm's way, and to lean very strongly on the, shoot first, ask questions later. And sort of over time, a lot of Pete Hegseth's perception of what happened in the military was that the people really leading it from the Pentagon were inept and not getting the job done and couldn't really focus on the correct direction that he believed in. And the only people that he saw being held accountable were people that were U.S. soldiers who were convicted of murder, because if you kill someone and they didn't have any, they weren't armed. It turns out that they weren't armed, then that can be considered murder. And that was something that Pete Hegseth saw was, he didn't see like the cabinet officials or the Pentagon officials. He basically saw them failing upward and was dumping money into this conflict, and it's not getting us anywhere. It's not creating more peace and stability in the Middle East. But the people that were held accountable were these soldiers who he saw as just trying to be warriors, trying to go out there and get the job done and protect the U.S. interests. And they were the only people that were really kind of held criminally liable. And so that kind of affected his worldview, and he kind of changed from being more of the liberal of the military to, you know, having the views that he came to have, and to really defend that on Fox News. And, you know, Trump's thing, I remember hearing about it, is like, oh, he's got the look. Well, you know, he's never had a high level leadership position in the military, but he wants to have him run the Pentagon. I think that probably the Pentagon and the people who really run the military are going to exert enough influence that he probably won't be confirmed.
Yeah, he's not going to get it. And it sounds like it's going to be DeSantis if he takes it, which I would be shocked if he does, because I think that this is a maneuver. So DeSantis for Secretary of Defense has been floated as being the pick. Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida. It already looks like, so there's already a lieutenant governor in position, Jeanette Nunes, and she would take the governor's seat if he takes that position. There is already in place, if you Google it and look, it's all over the place, that Laura Trump will replace Marco Rubio, who is taking the Florida Senate. He's the Florida senator, and he's taking Secretary of State. And that will be confirmed, no problem. So Laura Trump is going to be the new Florida senator.
Because she gets to be appointed by DeSantis? Is that how that works?
Yep. And then this is all part of the package deal, so that Trump will then have a lot more control in Florida. And I mean, I think people can look into that. So, I mean, just take for that what it is. I mean, for some people, they may cheer that on. Other people are going to be terrified to know that. I have no desire to ever step foot in Florida. So as far as I'm concerned, as soon Florida won't be part of the world because of climate change. And I just don't really think about Florida too much. But
well, the sooner maybe I and people like-minded like me, genuine working class people, can develop our leadership skills, we can run for U.S. Senate. I would love to primary Ron Wyden sometime. Oh, man. He's frustrated me on a number of issues.
Oh, Ron Wyden did something pretty good, though. I mean, completely different. But like the unemployment for self-employed people.
I have a lot of respect for Ron Wyden
really
and his many of his accomplishments and his advocacy on a number of issues. I just think he's a little bit too moderate, and I think he genuinely, I know for a fact that he is scared of the left. Sure. Ron Wyden has always been pretty afraid of the progressive left, and Oregon should have someone who can go and be a genuine, like, fierce advocate and fighter against people like Laura Trump if they're to go to the Senate. People like John Kennedy. There are a lot of senators, Tom Cotton, Josh Hawley, where we got to have people who are adept at being able to call that out and not afraid. And I know that you get a target on your back when you go out there, and I'm kind of like having this kind of grand idea, like some random like working class dude from Oregon or whoever can go and make an impact. But you know what? You got to raise some alarms about some things, man. And what is the qualification that Laura Trump has? I would like to know.
Who knows?
I would like to know.
Mixing it up, is a good thing. So, I mean, we have no real say for the next 2 years about what happens in the Trump administration. I'm just going to sit back and observe. But I can say that mixing it up with Matt Gaetz as Attorney General was a terrible idea. Yeah, and that didn't stick. Well,
this is loyalty test stuff. He was like, let's go with the most absurd picks to see who in the Senate he can test and actually, see if they'll still go with it, because he does have this desire to punish people who get in the way of his agenda, and he wants to see who he can remove from these Senate seats if they don't comply with his ridiculous appointments.
What do you think about Doge? The government organization now that's going to be led by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, two billionaires. I
think it's rich.
They have succeeded. Rich is a good word for it, because they have succeeded.
It's rich that their populist base of their party wants to say that they're going to get rid of this government corruption. They hand the keys to the government over to the richest man in the world.
Well, because they think that it's going to cut at stuff, but what it's going to do is going to eliminate. I mean, yes, we'll see, because we have no control. But my concern is that it's going to eliminate services for seniors, the people that a lot of times vote Republican. And then it's going to eliminate services for single women, which is what a policy that Republicans have been steadfast on for decades. And, I don't know. It's going to be tough. WIC is a program that they want to eliminate. And this is Project 2025 stuff. I don't care how you can call me crazy, we called out the QAnon stuff, but it'll be interesting to see. I will say that there is going to be some broken clock moments, because I do see some stuff with the Trump administration that could be a positive, and we'll just see. We'll just have to wait and see. One thing that is interesting, I'm not really sure what to make of it. I want to talk to you about.
I was always somebody who felt there were broken clock moments. I've voted for Republicans before.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen Republicans stand up for things that I believe in, and
you're going to see a different tone from me coming in the next couple of years. I'll tell you that. My situation is that I want to find people that are willing to comfortably talk about their perspectives without actually making it personal to where they're trying to hurt each other, because the reality is we're entitled to our perspective, and that's fine. And as long as someone can come at it with a reasonable thing, then that's total. Let's go. Obviously I'm not going to put up with bigotry or attacks on people's civil rights. And that's where it stands. And I have to draw the line somewhere. People these holidays are going to have to make those decisions, what family members they want to draw the line with. And those decisions shouldn't be because of political. It should be because of the way that person has morality. I've done it with family. But anyway.
On one other thing about the election, I genuinely think that Biden lost the election for the Democrats. In a lot of it had to do with the policy on Gaza. I think that giving a blank check and sending this inordinate amount of weapons to somebody who was basically derangedly focused on really, really making it a death zone for Palestinians. It's really, really something that people all across the spectrum in the U.S., seeing the videos, seeing children, seeing people with IVs hooked up to themselves in makeshift hospital camps being burned alive. It's just there hasn't been nearly enough done. That's part of my concern with Wyden. There hasn't been nearly enough done. And I'll give Merkley some credit because he said, Israel can be someone who is our friend and our ally, and we can still stand up to it and say, you're not doing what you need to be doing right now. And, it's tough because I'll give credence to the fact that they experience the world in a hostile way. I think anti-Semitism is wrong. I really am frustrated at the moments, because we can name some of them for sure, where the word anti-Semitism is used just to malign somebody who's standing up for Palestinian human rights, and I think that's troubling.
Well, I believe in free speech, so at the end of the day, I think that people need to be able to say what the way that they interpret the world, so that they can then be heard, and we can all calculate what we make of it all, And
as much as Biden and his family can hand wring about all the things that they feel that other people screwed them, the American people are watching, and we don't feel that he led on that issue.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. My concern is that I don't see. Obviously, this has already been decided in the election, but these decisions as a president have consequences, and so when like you said, we continue to funnel money to Israel, and even it was on his watch. So regardless of what was happening, he probably paid the cost of that. That accumulated with
didn't win him any political points.
Well,
I'm not saying everything should be a political calculation, but it's not an issue where he's like, oh, I'm going to get Republicans by being pro-Israel's military campaign.
Yeah, and we don't know what's going to happen with Trump and Israel.
But also Harris should have distinguished herself.
She chose not to.
She should have drawn a line. She shouldn't have said nothing is. I can't think of anything I would do differently than Joe Biden. That was just very foolish.
Yeah, it was bad. It's over.
And it was awkward. It felt like social. It felt like they were too afraid. You can't be president when you're afraid of pissing off your boss.
Well, and that's kind of why I think that people at least need to listen for a few minutes to some of the interview that Trump did, because it shows how much of a lost situation that Kamala Harris had. I hate to promote Joe Rogan, but the thing is that if she would have done that interview and you could have contrasted the two,
I agree.
I think that was a big mistake.
Read the room, see where people are at, see the voters you need to win.
Yeah,
talk to them in a real way, give them your time, and don't. It felt people feel sneered at. I'm not just saying by her, go
ahead.
If she had gone on there and tried to just talk about her life, I
don't know.
We know that it would have been picked apart and it wouldn't have connected with a lot of people, but it still would have connected with some.
I just think that when someone runs, they should have to move out of the country if they lose. That would make it a lot easier. And that way we've never heard about it again. We never have to worry about it.
That's weird.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
That would be kind of Hunger Games style. You have to leave the...
Well, a lot of this stuff does go back, though, to I feel like 2008 was a genuine feeling of democracy, where the people honestly, like again, Hillary Clinton. It feels weird to defend, but like there's cool things about Hillary Clinton's legacy. I'm sure it's on some occasions.
A lot of
my
people
dad
believe
was a
that,
big
yeah.
fan of her.
A lot of people don't.
But they prevented her from getting the primary. The people chose Barack Obama and prevented her from getting the primary. And then he kind of turned around and tried to install her and gave her and said, "No, Joe, don't do it." Like, and Joe wasn't going to do it anyway because his son had just died.
Well, that's how that works.
And ever since then, and sabotaging Bernie Sanders, who was a real populist champion for the base of the Democratic Party, even though he wasn't a Democratic Party member for the longest time. All of that was the start of where we are now.
Yep.
And I appreciate the analyses I've been able to see about that, where if you want to do some soul searching, don't go after the trans kids, don't go after these powerless individuals, but maybe think about how people at least think that you're a stand-in for the rich and powerful when you're defending the rich and powerful. Figure out how to actually appeal to those people and their interests.
I mean, on a local level, we see it even with organizations that can run rampant, like Airbnb, that is destroying the amount of houses that are available because there's so much of our housing is now being used as 6 days a year you have a football game, and so I mean that we could be here for days talking about that stuff. My point is,
these corporations look at places like Eugene as farms for money.
We have all of the issues on us. My point is on a national level. Here in Eugene, we have an opportunity to see what's happening on a microcosm of the housing issue that's exploding across the country, where you're seeing gentrification right before your eyes. Like I said, we started this podcast talking about how I've been here for 30 years. Mm-hmm. I could only begin to tell you about how much change I've seen and how much good and bad. I feel like in a lot of ways, this may come as a shock, I feel like Springfield and Eugene may feel even safer in some ways than it used to. And that might come as a shock because it used to be really wild. I don't know. I'm not in the streets as much.
Interesting.
But
I know who you're going to transition into about the labor secretary stuff.
I'm getting sideways.
You brought up Airbnb. Uber is similar to Airbnb in a lot of ways as a company and as a model. And I would love to see the administration, if they were going to give employee protections to gig workers. I would like to see, because Uber can pay that shit.
Well, I did have a friend that is something interesting. He left his job. I'm not going to talk too much because I didn't ask him if I could, but he left his job recently, and he's starting his own business, which is awesome, right? And he was like, you know what, I'm going to look into unemployment, because I think he did get let go because of just production or whatnot. And so he was like, even though he's starting a business, does that disqualify you for unemployment? And no, there was actually a program for a small business program. It's that you get unemployment benefits for 1 year, and you don't have to look for work because you're starting your business. So the reason I bring that up is there's a lot of opportunities out there for people to segue into creating, a little guy situation where you can control your own destiny and not have to have these corporations win, because we need chicken places that are local, that are and all that good stuff.
I cut chicken every day at the ramen shop.
Nice. So
boom. Super local business. I love it.
So we have one more cabinet pick to talk about because it has a connection to Oregon. Former Oregon U.S. Representative Lori Chavez DeRemer has been nominated as labor secretary. She was narrowly defeated by Democrat Janelle Bynum in the last election. So this is interesting because she lost. But Oregon is a very democratic state, so winning as a conservative of any kind. But I have read a lot about Lori Chavez DeRemer, and it sounds like she's been pegged as being pretty moderate, and that she has a somewhat of an endorsement from even Elizabeth Warren. I'm going to read her quote. Elizabeth Warren, who is a progressive, kind of corporate progressive in between that, from Massachusetts, but she, to me, represents teachers, really. But anyway, Elizabeth Warren says it's a big deal that one of the few Republican lawmakers who have endorsed the PRO Act could lead the Department of Labor. Warren said, if Chavez DeRemer commits as labor secretary to strengthen labor unions and promote worker power, she has a strong candidate for the job. So I don't know if that quote is just being used because she was just being nice. You know how stuff gets used. Point is, Trump chose her. She's from Oregon. I think of all the choices we could have had for labor secretary, it sounds like this person is pretty level-headed, and it's probably not going to be terrible, because we do need somebody that's going to have a pretty middle ground moderation right now between. I mean, I'm totally pro-worker, but we need level-headedness is what I'm saying. So, and I believe that she actually has this.
Well, I am going to definitely do my best to be optimistic and, again, be kind of a watchdog.
Yeah.
I've watched her for a while. She was the mayor of Happy Valley, and then in 2022, she won the primary for Congress in the district where the primary against her was Kurt Schrader, the longtime incumbent on the Democratic side, and then Jamie McLeod Skinner. Jamie McLeod Skinner defeated him. There was a really funny clip where she was saying, like, you have an ad where you're bucking hay, but I've and you're doing it without gloves. And he's like, well, when your hands are calloused, you don't need gloves when you're bucking hay. And she's like, I've shaken your hand. They're not calloused. Your hands are very soft. It was a very funny moment. And so I've been watching that district. And unfortunately, McLeod Skinner was not able to prevail in the general election against Chavez Dreamer. And Chavez Dreamer, I feel, went to Congress and did try to really emphasize bipartisanship. As a big part of her message is bipartisanship, because she knows that Oregon's a very blue state. There's a lot of very blue voters and like moderate blue voters in her district. She wanted to appeal to them. What I worry about a little bit, and I think, you could go with a lot worse, obviously, from this incoming president. You could find a lot worse people to go. I mean, he's appointing so many people that are fundamentally the antithesis of what their organizations are supposed to do.
Could be Kid Rock.
The FBI guy.
Could be Kid Rock. You don't
Exactly.
You don't know.
But Janelle Bynum has her number. I'm excited for Janelle Bynum to get to Congress. They've run against each other multiple times before for a state seat, and Janelle Bynum won as well. Two talented women of color, two people that they're family people in Oregon. They care a lot about Oregon.
It's just
I think she's kind of a normal person.
Yeah.
Where I worry is, like, does she have the spine to go and really do, as labor secretary,
pretty important
things
gig
that oppose the biggest corporations and the biggest wealthy moneyed interests in the government today? I don't know. So I hope she's not just a rubber stamp for an agenda that's set above her. I hope that she genuinely looks out for Oregonians and laborers across the whole country, because obviously this is laborers and the working class have defined the outcome of election after election. And so they don't feel heard. Can she do something there? The reality is, like, cabinet members don't really get a lot of press to really have, like, leadership. So that's just where I worry. I'm like, is this person going to be able to buck the trends that her administration wants to set? Or can she push in a direction that is going to be good for actual workers?
I would be surprised if labor is a top priority for the Trump administration within the first 100 days. I think that it's going to be putting people in concentration camps, but we'll have to see. So
the immigration policy is going to be really something to see.
Yeah, we'll see. Thomas Huira.
My mom is not a citizen.
Well, I wouldn't be putting that on public record. So Thomas Huira, that's the world we live in today.
Permanent resident. She's been.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. It's going to be scary.
She's helped start some great businesses. She's a great. Yeah. Now I have to defend her credibility as a normie American. This is crazy. That's going to
be scary. There's going to be a lot of goods, a lot of bad. That's going to happen.
It's also sad. And just local news. The Big Dirty is closing.
Yeah. The big shout out to the Big Dirty, KI, and the people behind the Big Dirty. The venue downtown that was multiple genres of music would be comfortable playing there, but it was very near and dear to the hip hop community. And so, shout out to the people behind that.
And bass music, that's their home.
Yeah, Sam Bonds also is up for sale. Apparently, there's a shift happening in our culture, and we're obviously. It's this is just what happens in life sometimes. Things come and go. I remember when
Wow Hall's still going strong. Last night they had Sixpence None the Richer.
Nice.
Who has that song? Kiss me.
Did they play it 6 times?
Out on the bearded bar. They played it once.
But so
but
I will
the
say
song
I remember
that inspired Taylor Swift to learn how to play the guitar.
That's awesome. That's
they
big
played
stuff.
that song.
So
in the Wow
I remember
Hall
in
last
one
night.
week when we lost or in a short amount of time. I was young. I don't remember exactly, but we lost Civic Stadium. Oh no, Civic Stadium, Movies 12, and the bowling alley, and it was all in the same time. And that was, oh man, I was like, you know what, guys? Hey, Corn Pop, what are we gonna do?
Two of those were fires.
Anyways,
but
yeah,
not the bowling alley was a fire. Southtown Lanes you're talking about.
Yeah.
We
got to get out of here.
All right, dog. It was super fun.
Yeah, Thomas Huira, thank you so much. Go Ducks. We don't know how the game's gone yet because this was recorded before the game, but hopefully they're Big Ten champions. We're going to end this with a song.
And if they're not, they get to host a home playoff
in
game
Autzen. Yeah, that's huge. We're going to end this with a song. I choose this because it is December officially, so it is okay to start playing Christmas music. I give you permission. Your family might get mad at me, but that's the way things go. Here we go. This is me, Patty Rose, which it used to be under the name Self-Esteem But Willie, but this is me, Patty Rose, featuring Jay Philly with Saying Merry Christmas Again.
Philly is lethal.
I said so much during the last 2 years, but I'll say
Sorry,
it
I had
again
to say
as
some
we
stuff at the
approach
end.
the end of the year. You know, we're getting near that beautiful Christmas season that people don't talk about anymore. They don't use the word Christmas because it's not politically correct. We're saying Merry Christmas again.
Remember, child, do what the gas bag says, or I'll have as many ends cut off your heads as the holidays approach us. We'll take this time to focus on the proper way to address greedy shoppers. We won't stop, we're bringing Christmas back. Do it through judging you on your syntax. We won't stand for this, we will all get pissed if the coffee cup doesn't have an angel. This snowflake business can take a hike, had no choice but to sit down and write satire about the war on the sacred day. If you have a problem, you can move far away.
If you don't like it, you can leave.
You can move far away.
Seriously, what are you still doing here?
You can move far away. We are saying Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas again. We are saying Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas again. We are saying Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas again. We are saying Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas again.
So celebrate what you celebrate and have the nerve to give the clerk an extra saucy word for them to go back home and marinate and let them know your blanket statement covers a whole picnic and the same money you both pay is worth more with the message. It's an annual war on my belief system. They beat the drums on the TV news to reach Christians. Pour out some eggnog for the homies lost to trampling crowds. A sale is a sale and we're leading by example now. When seasons change from pumpkin to cornucopia, it's rearranged to an Orwellian dystopia. Freedom rings with every purchase at a less amount, so we can wrap a gift the kids a week from now forget about. So this is Christmas, and what have we done? We capitalize and radicalize the sacred day of family fun. Asking for something we're not gonna get back. I guess that the best chance is putting it in white text up on a red hat.
We are saying Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas again. We are